kids, and welcome to Mr. Patrick's Laboratory! I'm so excited that you're here. It is the third and final day of our week on heat and cold, and we're talking about exothermic and endothermic reactions. Just a quick reminder, okay, because I'm not doing an experiment. We don't need goggles for right now. We're talking about, earlier in the week, we talked about heat. We talked about heat as a movement of energy from one place to another. We did things like high five and touch somebody's hand and figured out whose hand was warmer. We talked about because energy moved from one place to another. Or we even talked about, we made a cold volcano. We made a warm volcano. We did all kinds of cool stuff. Okay? But today we're going to wrap it all together into something really cool. We're going to make homemade ice cream. Now it's actually endothermic and exothermic together, and so I'm actually going to do two experiments with you because today's Good Friday. And so I'm going to show you an experiment, a fun game that you can have, maybe with your family, or a challenge, and we'll show you that. Then we're going to make homemade ice cream together. And maybe you and your family can all make that together, and each of you can make your own ice cream, and you can decide what goes in it. So it's going to be an exciting time. All right? So here's where we're going to start. Being that it's Good Friday, there's all kinds of different treats that you can get. Here are these marshmallow things. Maybe you've seen them before. They might look like a chick, or they might look like a rabbit, or whatever the case may be. And I learned this from a group of students that I had in class one time. And they said, we do Marshmallow Wars. And I'm like, okay, tell me what that is. And they said, okay, here's what we do. We take a plate, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to have war. And so what we do is we take one, my brother gets one, and I get one. And what we do is we make a sword. And the sword is nothing more than a toothpick. And so they stick the sword into their marshmallow guy. Okay, and the other guy that gets to stick his into his marshmallow guy. And I said, okay, so what happens next? They said, well, they're going to have a battle. And I said, well, how's that going to happen? They said, here's what we do. We take a marker, okay, and we're going to say the names of the boys are Bobby and Tommy. Okay, and so what they do is they have their name next to their marshmallow guy. I said, okay, then what? They said, then we put them in the microwave. All right, here's what's going to happen. When you turn on the microwave, what does it do to your food? It adds heat. And so it adds heat into it. And so as it adds heat in it to cook your food, we're going to put it into here. And I said, okay, so what happens? They said, well, the marshmallows get bigger and one jabs the other one first. So you got to watch carefully. And whoever wins the battle wins. I said, what do you do then? Well, we have a challenge with our whole family. Everybody gets a marshmallow and everybody has a sword and we have a competition. If yours is stabbed, you're out. That person stays and gets another marshmallow, and they challenge each other till they get a champion. So we're going to try it out. Let's see what happens, all right? So we have both Bobby and Tommy's marshmallow guys, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the microwave, okay? And as we put them in the microwave, I'm going to push them back so Miss Christie can see really good. I'm going to put on about a minute and a half. It's not going to take that long. But you keep an eye on your guys and watch what's happening. And they start swelling up. Do you see them swelling up? And all of a sudden oh, that guy missed. And he jabs the other one right there, and there's your winner right there. So I'm going to stop it real quick. And we're going to look inside. Look what the marshmallows did. They're shrinking real quick. Do you see that? They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay? The guy over there, Tommy's missed. But Bobby's got jabbed. Okay? He jabbed him right there on the side, right there. Okay, he got him right there when he blew up. So Bobby would win. All right, and then Bobby would challenge mom or dad or grandma or whoever the case may be. It's a cool way to take your marshmallows and have something fun. Now, some of you just like to eat them. That's okay. Can you still eat them? Well, you want them to cool off because they're really hot. They'll burn your mouth. Okay, but you let them cool off a little bit, scrape them off. You can do them on a paper plate. You can do them on a regular plate. It doesn't matter. Scrape them off and you can eat them. They're going to be a little crunchier on the top, almost like if you've ever made s'mores. And you put them in a fire, okay? That'd be an exothermic reaction, right? The fire is giving off heat, and then it's going into the marshmallow, which is endothermic into the marshmallow, and then it starts to turn brown on the outside. That's chemical reaction. That one's really cool. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime. When we're baking in Miss Christie's kitchen, but don't tell her I said that. And so, in this case, you can still eat those marshmallows, but you can have some kind of challenge. It's something fun to do on Good Friday, Easter time. That's a fun one. Okay, you pick where your sword goes. Your partner picks where the sword goes, so you got to watch. And they'll swell up, and the first one that gets jabbed is the loser. All right, that one's pretty quick. All right, so that one worked out great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make ice cream. okay? Ice cream is going to come about because of a very interesting reaction that takes place. Now, to be honest with you, we don't need goggles this time, so I'm going to take those off. What we're going to end up doing, ice cream has milk and cream and all kinds of things in it. I'm going to show you exactly how to make it, but I want you to understand the process. What we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up taking ice, okay? Now, we said that ice is 32 degrees Fahrenheit to freeze. Now, if you want to keep it solid, you keep it below that. And so I had this extra bag of ice in the freezer. You don't have to use this kind of ice. You can use ice straight out of your freezer. It's fine. But I just had a leftover bag, so I grabbed it up. Now, what's something that's interesting is when you add something like salt to it, it changes. Now, some of my young scientist friends live in parts of the United States where it snows a lot. And if it snows a lot on the road, they take care of the roads by throwing out two things that help us drive on the road and we can be safe. Let's see, what are those two things? Sand. They throw out sand on the road so that you have traction. Okay, so your tires stay on the road and you can still drive. And they also throw out a type of salt. Okay, now it's not eating salt, okay, but it's a type of salt. And when they throw it out on the road, it causes the ice and snow to melt. And so basically, here's what happens. If water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, when you throw salt on it, it actually has to get colder and colder and colder and colder before it would freeze again. So when you throw it out on the road, it starts to melt. And when it starts to melt, you can throw it on your sidewalks so that it's safe for somebody to walk on the sidewalk and they don't slip and fall and hurt themselves. And so it would have to get colder, 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 colder before it would freeze again. And many of my friends that are watching this, you know this. Where we live, we don't have a lot of ice and snow. Every couple of years it gets bad enough that we'll do that, but we don't see it all the time. And so for my friends that may not see that, I want to make sure we understood that, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to use this property to make it work, all right? So Miss Christie's going to get set up on the stand back there real quick, and I'm going to get us ready to make our ice cream, all right? Now, all of these ingredients were listed after our last video, okay? What you're going to need today is 2 sizes of baggies, okay? This is a quart-sized baggie, and this is a gallon-sized baggie. Now, it's really important that you catch this. There are different kinds of baggies. The best one that works for this is a zipper baggie. Not the one that has the slide on it. I want the snap together. That's a better way to say it. Snap together baggie. That I can snap it together and nothing gets in and nothing gets out. What's inside stays in. If you have a zipper one, the zipper can come undone and then it'll be nasty. Okay, so you want to have 2 sizes. You may not have quart and gallon. You might have quart and sandwich size. That's fine. They both work. I just happened to, what did I have? I had quart and gallon size. Okay? So here's what's going to happen. We're going to put our ice cream solution in here. And then this big baggie is where we're going to put the ice and salt that's going to freeze it. Okay? Now here are the ingredients. You're going to need a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream and a 1/2 cup of milk. Now I already put the milk in there. Now, there are some alternatives here, parents or adults, that you can use. Okay, 1/2 cup heavy whipping cream, 1/2 cup milk. Now, you may not have heavy whipping cream at your house. You may have 1/2 and 1/2. Hang on, I gotta let the security dog in. Come on, Baxter. Come on, let's get our security back inside. Good job, buddy. All right, so you may have 1/2 and 1/2 that you use for your coffee. 1/2 and 1/2 is 1/2 whipping cream and 1/2 milk already mixed. So if you have whipping cream at your house, you would need 1/2 cup of this and 1/2 cup of milk. Or you could have one whole cup of 1/2 and 1/2. Okay? What I'm making is one person's serving. Okay? Make sure everybody understands this. Okay? So if I have a family of 4, then I need 4 baggies of these and 4 of these. Mom, dad, brother, sister, whatever. Okay? Each person gets to make their own. That's what's really cool about this. When I do this at school, my students love it because they get to make their own and they get to eat their own. All right? So 1 baggie per person, 1 baggie per person, 1/2 cup of this, 1/2 cup of this, and then 1/4 cup of sugar. Parents, if you don't want it to be real sweet. Now, my high school students, you can Google this and get all kinds of different recipes. Okay? But my students really like this version of it. It is pretty sweet. You can cut down the amount of sugar if you'd like, if that's too much for your kids. Okay? But realize I'm using regular sugar. Okay? I'm not using a sugar substitute at all. Okay? And then the last thing is vanilla. Now, you can use vanilla extract or you can use artificial vanilla, it doesn't matter, but about a 1/4 teaspoon works great. Okay, so let me walk through it one more time. I'm making mine, okay? So I'm gonna need a small baggie and a big baggie. I need a 1/2 cup of this, half cup of whipping cream, 1/2 cup of milk, 1/4 cup of sugar, and then basically a dash of the vanilla. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to take this heavy whipping cream that I happen to have, and I'm going to take a 1/2 cup of it, and actually instead of pouring it in there, I'm going to go ahead and use my measuring cup here. I've got already a 1/2 cup of milk, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this in and get it all the way up to a cup, just like that. Okay, so I'm not dirtying up anything. So I have a full cup. Now again, if you have 1/2 and 1/2, then you pour a full cup, okay? And you can get this. This is easy to get when you go to the store. Obviously, you find it in the milk section. And then I'm going to go ahead and use the full 1/4 cup of sugar, okay? All right, now, what I'm going to do, there's a couple of hints I'm going to give you here that's going to help it work better for you, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it into this baggie. Now, I got the sugar went to the bottom, so I'm going to swirl it around to make sure I got all that sugar. Dump it off in there, okay, into my baggie. And then, remember, I've got that 1/4 cup of vanilla, okay? That 1/4 cup of vanilla goes in right there, okay? Teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon, I don't know what I'm saying, I'm sorry. 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/4 cup is too much. 1/4 of a teaspoon. Now, here's one of the hints. I'm going to snap that thing together, but here's what's really important. I want to squeeze the air out of it because I want all the cold to make my solution freeze. If I leave a bunch of air in it, it just makes the air cold. I don't want to get the air cold, I want to get the solution. So it should look something like that. It's sealed pretty good, okay? I can mix it around a little bit if I want to, okay? So I'm going to set that here for a second. And then what I'm going to get is I'm going to get ice, okay? Now, you can measure out the ice. What's easier for me is I just get some chunks of ice, okay? Okay, and again, this just came out of the freezer, so it's cold, and you can use the ice out of your ice maker. It's fine. It works great. Okay, so I'm going to get my ice. Okay, now the most important part is I need rock salt. Now, there's two options here. Rock salt is big chunks of salt. This is not edible salt. Okay, it is going to look just like the salt that you and I eat, but the big chunks that maybe look like inside of a grinder. But I'm going to tell you, and this is important to listen to this, it's not been purified. Meaning, sometimes when I've done this, and I've done this for years, when I use this and I go through the box and I'm putting it into each student, sometimes I'll find little tiny rocks. Sometimes I find dirt in the bottom. It's not clean where this is edible salt. It's being used for a purpose. It's not to be eaten, okay? Now, you're going to need about 3/4 of a cup, but to be honest with you, I just shake in, yeah, some salt, okay? Now, you can use table salt, okay? You can use table salt and pour it in there. It works great also, okay? The bigger chunks work fine too. If you only have table salt, like the big container of it, the big cylinder of it, that works great too. Now, what I'm going to do to speed it up a little bit, I have a dash of water, and here's why. This salt, kids, is going to make the ice start melting. Now, when it melts, it's doing something different. Did you catch what I told you a while ago? When you add salt to ice, it makes the temperature go up. No, it makes the temperature go down. And so it's going to get colder than normal. And I'm going to use that cold to make my ice cream. Okay? So I'm going to drop that in there. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this outside bag. Now this is super important. I'm going to check this one again because I don't want that salty water inside my ice cream. Okay? So that one's sealed really good. No air in it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the outside bag. Okay? I'm going to take it like this. And we'll squeeze the air out of it because, again, I don't want really cold air. I want cold ice cream. So I've sealed it really, really good. And then here's what's going to happen. I'm just going to move my stuff out of the way so you can watch. All right? And then I'm going to start mixing it. Now, here's what's happened. I'm going to start mixing it together. And I'm mixing up the solution. Now, each person would make their own. That's what's cool about this experiment. This is one person serving. It's basically making soft serve ice cream. Now, parents, students, this is very important. This is getting really cold already. It's important that you find some gloves. Now, you can use your winter gloves, okay? That's great. Or you can use, I have just work gloves. But you need to have gloves because it's getting too cold for your fingers. And so what you're doing is you're just mixing it up. Okay? Now you're being careful not to pop open that snap together zipper, okay, up here at the top, making sure that's good and close. But it's cold. In a little bit, I'm going to feel it through my gloves, okay? And I'm messing up my top of my tablecloth, but that's okay. I'm just mixing it together really good. And you're going to see, but it's starting to get liquid inside. It should. Because what's happening is it's dropping below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm making it freeze. So I'm getting it colder than ice. So I'm getting the ice to drop in temperature. And so here's a couple things to help you. And I'm not done with it yet. It's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes. You'll see there's ice around it. And so I'm mixing the cold all the way around it. So I can massage it in. I can flip it over. This is the way it works great. Now, very important. If your baggie starts to leak, and sometimes this big baggie will start to leak, if it starts to leak, you need to go over the sink and you need to do it inside the sink. Or you need to get a really big bowl. Or you need to do it, if there's 3 or 4 of you, then up in the bathroom, you can do it in the bathtub. It doesn't matter. But you do not want that salty water leaking all over everything. So mine's not leaking right now at all. And so I can keep going. And it's going to be about 10 or 15 minutes. Now, I'm not going to do the whole process here, but I can tell you the question becomes from my students, my high school students all the time. How do you know when it's ready? The answer is you got to check it. Well, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to pretend right now that I'm going to check it. And so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to open the baggie, and I'm going to reach in, and I'm going to squeeze the ice cream solution. It's actually starting to get a little harder, but it's not there yet. It's not to soft serve ice cream that you get at some of these restaurants. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze it back out one more time, get the air, make sure it seals really good, put my gloves back on, and then I'm going to keep going. Okay? It should be about 10 or 15 minutes. I can already tell it's starting to freeze. Okay? Now, a couple of things for you. Remember, the amount of sugar that you have, I'm just going to move that. The amount of sugar that you have, you can change that if you don't want it as sweet. But you may think, I don't want just vanilla ice cream. And that's fine, because there's lots of different things you can do. Here's what's happening. The vanilla just gives it a little bit more than just a milk taste. Okay? What's going to happen, and I'm going to let it sit there for just a second and stay cold, is I can, at this point, I can choose what I want to put in it. So here's the cool part. In just a minute, when it's ready, I can take it, and I don't have to eat it right then. I can put it in the freezer, ready for dinner time. And each person can put their name on it, put it in the freezer, and then after you eat dinner and it's time for dessert, then you can have your own dessert. You can pick any of the things that you have at home. You can put sprinkles. I have different red and green sprinkles, or yellow or green or blue. I can take a squirt of chocolate. If you don't want any of those kinds of things, maybe you got blueberries in your refrigerator. Maybe you've got fruit. Maybe you want to cut up strawberries when you get ready. And then all you have to do is open up that baggie, shove it in there, move it around a little bit, and it'll make the strawberries or the blueberries cold. Anything you want to do. Slices of banana. Oh, by the way, remember the bananas from the other things? Miss Christie made me banana bread. And since she made, oh, she's going to zoom in to show it off, huh? And so she made that banana bread. We've been eating on it. So when we have ice cream tonight, I'm having ice cream with my banana bread. And so this is what we're going to do for dessert tonight. Now, I'm not exactly there yet, but I'm close. But what I'm going to do is, before we ever started, actually, this is going to be very good. Okay, I actually already made one before I started this video, and it's in the freezer ready to show that off. But Miss Christie, this one already froze. So we can use this one. Now, here's what's going to happen. And this is probably, for parents or adults, this is the important part. And I'm going to let it sit there and just freeze just a little bit more. I have rock salt and ice. Okay, that inside baggie is covered with that on the outside. So make sure that, and kids, when you pull this out, don't just open it and start eating. If you decide you want to do this as your activity after dinner and then immediately eat it, that's okay too. But you need to know that your inside baggie is covered with salty water. And so what you're going to want to do is this, and I'm going to show you. Okay. Now, while I'm doing this real quick, hey parents, at the very end, you're going to have a baggie full of salt water. Now, if it's got big chunks of salt in it, you may not want to run it down your sink, because those big chunks of salt can sit there for a long time, okay? It could rust your disposal. And so what you can do is you can actually pour off the water, run some water behind it, so it's just salt water, but the rocks, just take that biggest baggie, drop it in your trash, okay? Won't hurt anything. Now, here's what happens. It's the very end, Miss Christie. I got my ice cream. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that inside baggie. Oh, yeah, that ice cream is awesome. You can tell it's not liquidy anymore, it's soft serve. And so what I want to do is very quickly, I want to run a little bit of water on that to get that salt off, and then I want to take a Kleenex, paper towel, and wipe it off really good. I'm ready to open that thing, and I'm ready to eat it right now. Or what Miss Christy and I are going to do is this. I've got that, it's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and put it in our freezer for after dinner tonight to go with my banana bread. And then tonight, Miss Christy can decide what she wants because I've already got hers in there. That one's mine. And I can already have dessert ready for tonight. I can think about, I got blueberries. I love blueberries. Remember that in the other video? I like blueberries. And I've got some in there. And so I'm going to drop them in my ice cream. I'm going to have a little bit of sprinkles. I can do whatever I want because I have my own ice cream. And so the cool part about this is everybody doesn't have to have the same kind of ice cream. You can make your own. Make your own ice cream. Now, why does it work? It's an endothermic reaction. It's so cold that water is getting colder and colder and colder and colder, and it is actually freezing my ice cream. Now, two things that we did today, endothermic and exothermic. We talked about heat going out, heat coming in. We had Marshmallow Chicks War that you can do, or you can make homemade ice cream. Goes exactly with the end of the week. I hope you had a great time in this week as we talked about heat and energy and temperature and exothermic and endothermic. It's so exciting. I had a great time on Mr. Patrick's Laboratory. See you next week. Hope you enjoy your ice cream.